All right, everybody. Hello. Welcome back to Shanti Healing's podcast, The Spiritual Connection. I've got Tamara Reid back on. Woo, 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 woo. She's one of my ride or dies here in our town. And we're videoing today so you can see how gorgeous she is and get the face with the name because she has been on several of my podcasts before. And we have a lot of fun together. So thank you for being here. Good morning, honey.
Good morning. You look lovely. I look like I barely took a
You.
shower. But in the
Yeah.
empowerment of
You know,
today, this is
this is
all
real
good.
life stuff, right? I mean, it's not, my
Exactly.
podcast isn't about the showboating and the pretending, right?
Yeah.
We're in our
Yeah.
houses, there's crap in the background, right?
Yeah.
I have dogs here, you have dogs there, they might be barking, whatever. We're just going to go with it and, just be real around it. So, Tamara called me yesterday and she said that she wanted to do a podcast. She had an inspirational moment and a speaking event that she did that she wants to talk about. And I guess we're going to title this podcast Pulling Up Our Wonder Woman Panties, right?
I don't, panties always sticks with me. I'm like, I call it undies, like the
Undies.
underoos
Pulling up
undies,
our
like
Wonder Woman
Wonder
undies. Not
Woman
too high, though.
undies.
Not too high.
It's
just,
okay.
just high enough.
You can pull them up as high as you like. Yeah. And it's just, and like I was telling you, it's something that I keep on coming back to in my meditations. They keep on saying, I find myself like making myself small and I start stressing and I feel like I'm in this container and all of a sudden I just find myself going, stop. Step back, put your arms up, put your arms on your hips, and step into that wonder. I call it the Wonder Woman undies power. And I even have a Wonder Woman, little stick figure hanging from my, which used to hang from my truck, rear windshield, and my son now has it and stuff like that. But it was always my reminder to be like, stop making myself small or fearful or insecure and step back and just be like, nope, I'm not squeezing myself small anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard to do as women, isn't it? It's like, especially when we're on our own, kind of doing life and stuff, and we want to show up in a certain way, but getting big can be very intimidating,
Oh, yeah.
because you're
Such
showing up
a,
in a certain way that could lead to failure,
oh,
and then
so
everybody
true.
sees that, it's challenging.
Yeah. I think that's been my greatest growth in the past 5 years has been how do I make myself bigger without leaning on a spouse or significant other. And I call it the turtle mode. I've spent in my healing, it was always this and protecting my heart space, rolling my shoulders in and protecting my heart space. And just once again, confining myself, making myself small, making myself invisible. I had this bright, I had this mauve colored hair and I stuck out. And I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I coloring my hair this color? It's making me stick out so much and all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, I just wanted just pull my arms and legs and my head in and go back into my turtle shell. And I was just like, nope, I'm not doing that anymore. I just, who cares? Like, we're just here to empower each other and to love on each other and, speak faith into each other. That's my biggest thing. Like, I'm not the person, like, when I'm with my friends, and with you, I'm not the person that I'm going to sit and listen to you talk negatively about yourself. I'm like, hold up, girl, hold up, girl. You're beautiful, you're smart, you got an incredible heart. I'm talking to you, my beautiful Jill. You have this beautiful, soulful heart and presence, and what we're here to do. And even if that means we feel like dog shit while we're leaving a relationship or whatever it is, it still means in all things we came here with value, we are purposeful, we are deserving. Like that's the message I get from meditations every time. Somebody told me a lie in my childhood. Somebody told me to stay small, it's like I had this little red balloon that would float up to the sky. And my mother would be like, don't get too big for your britches. And da, 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 here, and she'd pop my balloon and I'd come back down to earth. You know what? Fuck that. Excuse my French. I'm going to have a whole handful of balloons and I'm floating to the sky and I'm worthy of what I desire and want to create and see in my visions. And all of us, we just need to support each other in that and not sit around talking about what we aren't versus what we are. And
Yeah.
that's Wonder
Yes.
Woman.
That
Wonder
is
Women.
beautiful. That is beautiful. And it's exactly where we should be.
Mhm.
So let's go about the steps that you have in mind about
Okay.
how to get to that point. Like, say you're at a space where you feel small and it's scary to get big, and you want to maybe make a career change or, break up with somebody that's abusing you and you're not happy, right? But you need to make a plan, right? And things need to be put in order, but the process of that is terrifying, right? So
Yeah.
walk us through. You were talking to me about letting go of blame, projection, being accountable. We want to talk about all that stuff and then like
Mhm.
recognizing the mirror. So maybe let's start with the mirror part of what you wanted to talk about because a lot of times in relationships, there's something about that person that you don't like that's a mirror of something in you that you don't like, right?
Always.
Like a bad habit or a character trait that just makes you feel like
Triggers the
crap about
bejesus
yourself,
out
but
of
you
you.
see
Yeah.
it in that person and then you project that, you mirror that annoyance for that person because they do that thing, but it's really something that you do that you don't like about yourself. So let's talk on that first. I think that would be a good
Okay.
starting point. And then everything else will kind of like fall into place, I think, after that.
Okay. Sounds good. It's one of the best books I've ever read is The Four Agreements. And it's just like, it's not thick. It's like Cliff Note. And you get past the blah 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 of the beginning, which kind of like I was like, meh, and you just get to the chapters, and one of them is the mirror image and the things that are triggering you in life. And this person did this, so now I feel this way. One, you've just given your power away. Like, because they did that, now I feel this way. And the best thing I've learned in life through my psych background is feelings are just feelings. They just are. No right or wrong. First and foremost, giving yourself grace, like I'm having this feeling. Oh, look at that feeling's coming up. And second, nobody can make you feel anything. You've given your power away if we say, you just made me feel angry. Well, no, you didn't. I have a choice. And my choice is I feel angry right now right now. And why do I feel angry? And there's that, let me do that deep dive. Let me see what this is about. Why is this bothering me? Why is this, like I said, that favorite word, why is this triggering me? Whatever it is, why is this person annoying me so much? Like, what is it within myself? So that's where I call that's the Wonder Woman undies. The undies are pulling it up and going, I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to stop giving my power away and projecting the fact that they just did something to make me have a reaction and instead go, why am I having that reaction? Like, interesting. Like,
Like,
yeah,
but legit, someone can do something that pisses you off. Like, if you, whatever reaction you have,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It still could be painful. It still could
right,
be angry.
right,
I mean, that's
right,
that piece of it is really hard to regulate,
right.
you know?
And it's fine to recognize that, but that's like I said, those are still feeling your feels. I'm still going to feel my feels. I'm just pissed right now, and I don't know why, and that sort of thing. And it still comes down to if this person is triggering me, or if it's something that just keeps on. I just don't like it's like when you go home at the end of your night, spending time with whomever, and you just don't feel good about yourself. You just don't feel positive, whatever it may be. Then the assessment is, if I don't enjoy spending my time around that person, what am I doing? I have a choice. Again, I have a choice who is in my life. I have a choice who I surround myself with. I have a choice what comes out of my mouth. I have a choice what I'm going to receive and what I'm not going to receive. And the more we work on ourself and our own value, truly our own value, and start creating that foundation, that solid foundation with its cracks and all that beauty and the flowers growing up through the cracks, all that beauty in there, but still having that foundation of going, I am not going to allow this person to ruin my day.
Mhm.
I'm going to go back into a place of just giving them grace, seeing that that is their wound, and just, and my favorite thing to do, and I do this with my husband, where I have such a compassion for him and recognizing how different we are now, but I have such a compassion for him because I see his wounded child. And that's all they are. That's all he's doing is going through life and just looping through his wounds. So if I can see that, it's amazing how when you can just love somebody and have compassion for them, all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, that means I'm loving myself and having compassion for myself. And that's what it's all big, 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 that mirror image again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It took me years to really have compassion around that with my ex too. Like he had a pretty rough childhood, and there was some substance abuse and some, emotional abuse going on in his childhood. He lost his dad when he was really young. And
Mm,
he grew up with a certain mindset around how he had to behave.
mm,
And it trickled into the marriage, and it caused some problems, and some behaviors that were not okay with me, and some behaviors that were not okay with him that I acted out on, and it's like it's really a powerful healing stepping stone, I think, when you look at the ex person in your life that caused you pain for such a long time
mm.
and see love for them in a different
Right,
way,
right, right,
forgiveness,
right.
understanding of the journey that he has been on with his life has molded and shaped him, just like the journey I've been on has molded and shaped me.
Right, right.
And as we get older, those habits are harder to change, I think, too.
Yeah, it's a
So
choice.
just like acceptance of the person as is, but also having really good boundaries too,
Yeah, yes.
around potential situations that could be abusive psychologically or emotionally abusive, not tolerating that, right? If it makes you
Right,
feel deeply
right.
wounded and rejected or shame. I mean,
Hmm.
there's a fine line between like acceptance of it and
Oh,
intolerance of
yeah,
it, right?
yeah, yeah,
Depending on the
yeah.
circumstance.
And that there's twofold to what you were just saying, and the beauty of it is, um, we pick the partners we pick in life in order to help us work through our. This is truly my belief. I picked my husband to work through some deep-rooted self-value stuff. I picked him to challenge ways. So the perfect example of actually why I picked my husband in life was I looked a certain way. I altered my body. I lived in LA. I modeled. I lived in that whole scene because at the time, that's where I saw my value. My value was in my looks. And I met a man who loved me for the way I looked and thought I was beautiful and told me I was beautiful and, reaffirmed that all the time, but then would make these little comments about, little things about, which made me feel, okay, then that person just likes me because of how I look, not because of, I have a value and I have a beautiful heart and I'm smart and all those kind of things. Like he made those comments, little comments. Of course, he's talking to you, you're beautiful. And I'm like, that's not why I created this business. That's not why I've established these clients. And he would just undermine that with the way he said what he would say. And then I started recognizing that that was his value system. That's why he believed that people value him and he has that belief system. I have a choice that I'm going to go away over here and say, I don't want to have just a face and be a body and walking through life that way. And that's why somebody talks to me or doesn't talk to me. I'm like, I want to walk through life with an open heart and this mindset of not taking any crap from anybody, loving myself so much that I can navigate when somebody's just, nope, this person isn't aligned with me. I'm okay with letting them go in my life, whatever it may be, and stuff. And so I look at him now, and you can see how he still struggles with his aging. Like, and I'm just like, oh, well, let's just let it go, you know? I had breast implants, I took those out. I really did want to just let it go and be of value just because I am. I am worthy. I am valuable. I came into the world with value and I feel purposeful and all of that. So working on that truly and not in the last 5 years, my value was also the fact that once he, let's say, he cheated on me. Once when he cheated on me and he moved on so easily, that affected my value system. Like, how could he just move on? That obviously means I meant nothing to him. How, like all this stuff. So there's that we come into each other's lives to trigger each other, to work through stuff, to karmic balancing. And then the other part of it is that we are constantly given the choice of, again, who do we have in our life and who do we not want to have in our life? Who do I surround myself with and who don't I? Simple
Yeah.
as that.
Yeah.
And the animals are another thing. That's why I love being with the animals so much. I love people too. I also love animals because they're just their authentic self. They're like pound sand. This is who I am. There's always room where they want to let stuff go, constantly want to let stuff go. And that's what I try to mirror. Like, I don't like this about myself. What do I do to let it go? So I can live in my present moment and be happy and all that. So I'm the spirit animal amongst my spirit animals and stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah, so true. And the the animals are a beautiful piece. I love being home with my animals and they love me no matter what, right? And that's a
yeah,
good thing.
yeah,
There's no rejection piece there with your animals
yes,
and it's just easy and they're such healers, without
they
even
are.
intentionally
Yeah.
doing it, just being there for you and being amazing and adorable. They heal
And
you.
then your animals are all but and exactly. And then your animals also mirror where you're at, right? When I'm feeling anxious, and yesterday and today, it's just been kind of like I've had a client load and I've sick clients and pain and a lot of clients with pain. So I wake up in the morning and I start working and I realize I need to ground myself more. I need to center myself. Otherwise I just get, kind of, adrenals going. And I recognize the madness that happens in my household when I'm not grounded, what they're showing me in their adrenal fatigue or their, like you just see even with the puppy I have and stuff like that. He's just all like tired but fried today and stuff. And I'm like, okay, so we're both mirroring each other. And, animals will show you where you're as well. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Very true. Very true. They are special creatures. So let's move on to um, the projection and being accountable piece that you wanted to talk about. We covered the mirroring and just kind of recognizing what is showing up in your partner that you are discontented with in yourself. That's huge. I
Yeah.
think that's like the first step really is just recognizing what that is or what maybe a few of those things are and just kind of
Yeah.
stepping back from that and going, okay, I see that, I recognize that, and just kind of processing for a moment. If you're new at doing this kind of thing, like some people may not have ever heard of mirroring before, right? And they're just straight into the projection and the blame piece, right?
Right.
And the non-accountability of it, which we're going to be talking about shortly. So
Yeah.
say we
Which I spent,
recognize the
I call,
mirror.
I call that the victimville.
Yeah.
And like
So
I
many
think I've
people
said
get stuck
before,
there.
oh my gosh, I moved in, like I love to say, I not only moved to Victimville, I bought a house, I established a zip code, I put out a welcome mat. I lived in Victimville for a good while.
Yeah.
And it's easier to be in Victimville. Like everything that's happening in my life is because of him. He did this to me. This is his fault, all of that.
Yep.
was all just constantly, here you go, here's my power away. Oh, he's happy. That means I'm not happy. Oh, he's traveling with somebody. That means I didn't mean anything to him and we weren't great travelers and all this kind of stuff. Oh,
Oh
he can move, like
gosh,
everything
that's
was, here's my
tough.
power. Here's my power. And even though I wasn't saying it to him, I was constantly feeling this way. So it was like, here's my power. Here's my power, and I got so sick of myself. Oh, I was
Yeah,
sick.
I hear you there, man. It's a couple stepping stones through all that crap. Yeah, it's
Yes,
because
yeah,
when what someone causes us pain, what we want them to be perpetually in pain until we don't, right? And
right.
if
And
they're
then
if
and then
they're
you're like,
thriving and moving
I'm
on,
wishing.
it hurts. But
Yes,
maybe,
that is true.
for the men that might listen to this, like correct me if I'm wrong or maybe not. But it seems to me that as we get older, that women are just more prone to do the self work, more prone to just kind of do the inner reflection of their peace, in the relationship ending or their peace in a job ending or whatever ending, whatever grief process is happening, that women seem to just tend to be more reflective around that and more kind of emotionally tuned into the why, right? And then working on that more likely than men do. My
Well, actually, that's actually not true in the sense that actually how it goes is feminine energy, whether you're a he, she, they, them, feminine energy tends to do the work right away. We go into what was my part in this and da 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 da. And we start going through all the emotions and we're pulling out, opening the closets and we're pulling up the floorboards and all that kind of stuff. We tend to do that initially, pretty much. We can even sense relationships ending and we start doing that work. The
Mhm.
masculine
True.
energy does it later down the road, usually, where they're like, okay, it keeps on kicking me in the ass. Now I'm gonna do something about it, but it doesn't mean that the masculine doesn't do it, doesn't do that healing work. It just means that usually the feminine does it like right away, like we're already starting to. But the feminine energy also tends to, and maybe masculine does this as well, but the feminine energy, in my experience, tends to go into the shame part of it. Like, this is my fault. I wasn't enough. I was too much. I was, all of that verbiage and that sort of thing. But that's still some of the pulling, that's still all part of the throwing everything open and the wardrobe of grief and stuff open, where it tends to kick them in the butt down the road. Other more masculine energy, stuff like that. But it's
Right.
still,
Right.
at some way or the other, it's going to come up, whether it's going to show up as pain in your
Right.
body or it's going to just, full on implode your life. Like
Right.
one way or the other. Yeah.
Right. One way
So,
or the other, it has to be looked at and healed.
yeah, exactly.
And there has to be that mirroring recognition, right? And there has to be
Right.
the projection and the accountability piece. Perhaps, I have one experience to compare it to, right? And it didn't
Hmm.
seem to go that route for me. There's
Hmm.
to like if there is any accountability on his part at this point, 6 years later, I would never hear about it,
Hmm.
you know? He would keep that dialogue very tightly
Oh,
bound up inside.
absolutely. Yeah.
If there was any apology, I would never hear about it. If there was any remorse at all, I would never hear about it. So
Hmm.
who's to say if there's any work being done on that end or not? What I do know is that he remarried 3 months after our divorce to
Hmm.
someone he met on Tinder and he knew for 9 months. So
Hmm.
that was his way of healing, I guess, or
Or lifting up
pretending
the
he was
carpet and
okay.
scraping it under the
Right.
carpet. Yep.
Slapping a band-aid on it with a new
Yeah.
marriage,
Yeah.
whatever, but
Yeah.
to me, like in my experience of that, there wasn't much of that reflective work that I was aware of anyway.
Yeah. Well, and
It
I
was
will
just
tell
like,
you that in my experience, I got the apology. I got the real conversation. My husband is somebody who holds who he really is, very much keeps that mask on and the persona to the world. And I'm pretty much the only one who's seen a glimpse behind it. And so he can be pretty real with me, although it's always a bummer to me that he's not more real with the people in his life. And I will tell you though, his is same thing, stuffing it down. I call the bubbles of truth start coming up and he shoves it down and he reseals that Tupperware lid. And I saw it even when we were dating. I'm like, oh, there's a bubble of a real emotion there. Shove it down. And for him, it's affecting everything about him physically. He's got acid reflux. He's not speaking his truth. He's got GERD now, which I work frequency on him. Like I said, we're good. I'm always like, can I, help you? He's doing so much better. But it still comes down to the one thing I keep on saying is you have to find a way to speak your truth. If you're not going to say it out loud, then write it on a piece of paper and burn it. Say everything that you're angry about,
Yeah.
you resent, da 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 da. So it will affect your husband's physical body.
Oh yeah,
Stuffing
I
that
mean
stuff
he's
down. Yeah.
he's drinking again,
Yes.
and he
Livers,
has he
anger. Right.
has high liver enzymes and his
Yeah.
and heart palpitations. So
Right. Heart is grief, liver's anger. Yep. So it all in some way or the other, even if they're not coming forward and they're saying it to us or to them or anybody else, and really however it's going to show up in your body. It
and,
really is.
right, and I we're still there's still a cord attached. He lives 6 houses away from me to
Yeah.
accommodate the children, you know that. But like we will make the same things for dinner on the same nights.
Mm,
We'll go to the same places on the same day,
mm.
and
Yeah,
it's
it's still a
just
good. Yeah.
there's still the cord there, and he's so angry and he just feels like his energy just feels very unhappy and angry, but that's it's
And
I
here's the
feel
Wonder Woman
for
undies.
him around that,
Yeah.
and I wish him great things and happiness and joy and prosperity. And I wish him all good things, and
Yeah.
it's a path that he's on. That's the path
Yeah.
that he's on, and
And and the empowerment
it's
in
what it is.
that is again, which is what I constantly do as well, my husband, and the Wonder Woman undies and taking our power back is to constantly disconnect, to unhook from their energy, to not be aware of what they're feeling, and this, that, and the other thing. Like I work diligently with my connection to unhook, like to not be involved. And it's, it's sometimes a little tough because you have a child coming to you or children coming to you complaining about them or the choices they're making and that sort of thing. And I really, same thing, I try to go into compassion. Once again, I can see how unhappy he is because I can see about the life part of this partner he's chosen. And I see it through my son's eyes. And my son comes and, just unloading and sharing, which is beautiful. I appreciate it. I don't say anything, I just receive and I'm open. And for me, it just is a reminder to, again, not to be like, okay, I'm not connected to that. I'm not connected to that. Brody chose him as his dad. I am not, like you got to unhook from that.
Yeah,
So, and you'll always have some form of connection because you created children together and because you
right.
had a strong karmic cycle that you worked through. But the more we disconnect from that cycle, the less likely we are to repeat it. Like I'm like,
Right.
I am not doing this again,
Right, right. My current partner is very different, and
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, and there's the energy is very different. So that's a good
Right.
thing. I
Right.
stepped it up
Right.
definitely when I had the opportunity to. So
Yeah.
as far
Yeah.
as projection and accountability
Mhm.
is in relationships. So projection, describe to me and the audience what you define as projection in relationships.
Oh my gosh. Like, um, a perfect example is if I'm not feeling confident about myself, if I'm struggling with, loving myself or liking myself, I will find I'll go out on dates with guys who you can uber see that with. If I'm feeling, um, you know, self-deprecating, or I'm critical or whatever, I'll find relationships in my life or friendships in my life where people start kind of picking at me and stuff like that. I stop and go, okay, first, I don't like that feeling. I don't want to be around that energy. But then I also go, well, what about me is being open to that? Because the higher the vibration we are and the frequency we are, and I do this all the time, the more I stop going into that turtle shell and I hold my shoulders back, I'm just like, no, no, nope, I'm not listening to this. Nope, I'm not doing that. Nope, I'm da 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 da. And then they can get all offended, or, what, you don't want to, da da da. Like, I have a lovely friend of mine who I love dearly, and it's constantly, let's take a selfie, let's take a selfie, and I don't want to. I have enough photos of myself. I don't care what I look like in the photos and that sort of thing, but I just don't want to keep on doing that. That's just not something that is important to me. I want to be in the moments. I don't want to be on a phone. I don't want to be looking at photos. I want to be eyes up, looking up, and that sort of thing. And I think sometimes this offends her. And I'm just like, I don't, we have a million photos of us. Let's just be here. My phone is away. My phone is off, whatever it is. And it's amazing how I can see somebody have a reaction. And then what I do is I don't take accountability for that. I'm just like, I'm speaking my truth. I really want to do it kindly. That's first and foremost, and that sort of thing. But I'm going to stick to my truth. And you have the choice to either be offended or not be offended. Like, give it, this is yours. I'm going to take mine back. You take yours back.
Yeah.
And all of that is just, I'm constantly like, oh, that person just really offended me, or oh, I just felt so bad, or I felt so ashamed right there. And I'm like, wow, I need to dig deeper. I'm feeling pretty kind of ashamed of something lately, and there's some shame stuff coming up, So I do I sit in meditation, and what is that? Let it come up. Where do I feel it in my body? Let it come up. And sometimes, like Monday night, what was it, a couple of nights ago, whatever it was, I was just sobbing my eyes out. I don't know what it was. I wasn't attaching it to a story. I was just crying my eyes out and releasing, another layer of shame. And then the next morning I woke up and I was like, woohoo, felt so much better stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Releasing tears and energy
Yeah.
is powerful. It's so healing. That with you
Yeah.
talking about this, that it makes me kind of want to veer into the rejection piece.
Mm.
So I was working with a coach, and we did like a mental and emotional release technique. And the one word that came up for me is rejection.
Mm.
Like, we dove deep into a lot of different layers,
Mm.
and what came up was like, my word was rejection. And it
Mm.
stems back to like in utero, as far as going back on timelines, and not necessarily rejection of giving birth, but the rejection of the relationship that my mother and my father had,
Mm.
because it was not healthy. And they didn't have a lot of money at the time when I was born. But besides that, the marriage was not good. It was not content. So the rejection piece that came up was not rejecting me per se, but reject my mother feeling rejected by my father and
Mm.
having another baby, and what
Yeah.
that looks like in the future as far as survival goes.
Mhm.
Right. So when we project, right, a feeling
Mhm.
onto somebody else, we need to really look at the root of it. Like,
Mhm.
look back and get help with it, through
Right.
your timeline
Right.
if you need to do that, and really
Right.
find
Clear
out
that lineage. Yeah.
where it started,
Yeah.
because it's not just from that specific singular moment that you're having a feeling of rejection,
Mhm.
or
Well, and it
or any other
shows the
feeling.
partner. And it shows the partner you chose in life. You picked a spouse who you felt rejected by
Yeah.
over and over and
And
over again.
I felt rejected by my father when I was a kid,
Mm.
and I
Yeah.
married a version of my father, and I felt rejected
Yeah.
by him through our whole marriage, you
It's
know?
funny.
And
It really is beautiful in a
it's
way.
like you don't see it when you're in it all the time.
I know it's so true.
because you're
I
so
was
in
always like,
it, right?
I was so proud of myself and so cocky and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, look at me. I'm the youngest of four. I'm the one who didn't marry one of my parents. I'm so like, I've changed our lineage and our DNA. And look at, sure enough, what? Yeah, I did marry my dad. It's so many aspects of that
Yeah.
I was just like, ugh. So, the one thing I wanted to also really focus on, and for me, the biggest thing about pulling up my Wonder Woman undies is the feeling of, I have to say, and I wanted to share, this is the other thing I wanted to share. I drove down to Denver a couple weekends ago, and I got randomly picked to get up on a stage and share a story I've written. And the story's all true. And the biggest thing for me was, and still is sometimes, is how didn't I know? Why didn't I see those patterns? Why didn't I see I married my dad? Why didn't I see the lies? Why was like, I felt like I was an ostrich with my head in the sand and that sort of thing. And this is the part of the story. How did I not know? How did
Right.
I not know? I'm intuitive, I'm
You know
empathic, I do
lots
this
of
for a living.
things. You're so
Yeah,
tuned
exactly. I
in.
navigate my life by my gut instincts. Exactly. Almost 15 years of how the F did I not know? And that was where most of my healing was. And it wasn't a betrayal of him, it was a betrayal of self and my connection, and it altered everything. And that's why I went into turtle mode. That's why I was fearful. That's why I had anxiety, because if I didn't see that, then what else am I missing? I am walking through this life completely oblivious and didn't believe in my connection to divine. It affected the absolute foundation of my life, and not only altered it, but I say completely blew it up, like, blew up. And I remember that was the biggest betrayal in my life, was how did I not know? And like I said, this connection to divine that we do have, but for some reason, and like I said, the part of the story is I find out why I didn't and what I was meant to bring into the world. And one of the reasons was to bring my son into the world. I didn't plan on having children. None. Like, I was happy. I loved being an aunt. I'd been babysitting since I was 10, loved kids, worked equine therapy with special needs kids, loved kids. But I just didn't need to have them in my own life. I didn't need to give birth to them. So I just didn't have any plans. And my son was a big surprise. And there's nobody else in the world who I would have, or at least that I know of right now, that I would have said, I want to bring this child, we created this child. I want to bring him into this world. I would have, maybe made other decisions. And I know that's part of the reason why I didn't see what I didn't see. And like I said, I was also in a cycle of learning. I was also in a cycle of, I was like I called, I was in high school. I was really in the depths of learning and all that awkwardness and living in Orange County, where all you can be is awkward living in Orange County, California, because there's just, and I don't say this as a blanket statement, but in my experience with Orange County there's a lot of focus on just the way you look. What you have is your value system, what you look like is your value system, and that sort of thing, and that's your worth. So there was a reason why I was there. There's a reason why I, moved to LA. There's, all of that. So, like I said, the story I wanted to share, if you're open to it, I would love to share it and just share with the story I got up on the stage and gave on that Friday night on
Yep.
the platforms called The Moth. And the
Okay.
Moth is a really cool, yeah, it's just such a fun way to watch people get up on stage and listen to stories.
Is
Okay.
that an acronym for something? Moth?
No, it's just called The Moth, and the images
Okay.
of a moth. It's a
Okay.
nonprofit, and they travel nationally, and they get up on stage, or they create an area where they're going to say this is another moth event. And this is the theme. And the night I went, it was an open theme. And it was like 175, easily 175 people there. I was like, holy cow, I've done open mic nights, but I've never done this large of an audience. It was double tiered and all this stuff. And I go up there and you sign, and if you win, you get put on the Moth's media platform. They put it out there for the world to hear and see. So you're signing it away that if you win, you get, featured on the Moth. And I sat there in my seat going, I don't want to get up there. No way. This is too big of a crowd. And then the other part of me was like, if I'm meant to be up there, I'm just going to get up there and I can do this. And then I was like, no, 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 can't do it. Like I was flip, flop, flip, flop. And second man gets up there. He does really well. And then he puts his hand in the bag to pull out a random name. And I knew instantly that I knew it was going to be me. I just got that internal nudge. Okay, this is my turn. Calls my name and I get up there and I have all these little zing, 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 zing. And when I get a little zingy, I talk fast. If you haven't noticed already, somehow I'm a fast talker. Or when I have a lot of information I want to share, but I just took a deep breath and was just present. And it's honestly one of my favorite stories to share because it is, um, I don't know, I feel like it's really, really part of my truth. And it's really taking my mask off. And I feel like it's a really wonderful, comfortable place for me to be vulnerable. And I love vulnerability. So, yes.
Great, let's hear it.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I start out that it is April 1st, 2006, and I'm just about to get married. My fiance and I at the time chose April Fool's Day because we felt like it replicated who we were at the time, which was, loving to have fun, enjoying a joke, and not taking life too seriously. Um, so we are in Mexico and we're at an all-inclusive resort. And it's the day we're getting married, and I'm currently standing in a hallway in the resort with a door in front of me. And that door, once opened, walks directly out onto the beach where my fiance and 10 of our guests are all standing out on the beach. And that's where we're going to have the ceremony. It's this beautiful wrapped gazebo with flowers, and there's this beautiful train, which I didn't see until I opened the door. Beautiful train all the way to the gazebo, held down by enormously beautiful shells. And I'm standing there and I take the time that I have this time and I'm waiting for the knock on the door. And the knock on the door is going to signal that it's time for me to open the door and step out and go get married. And so while I'm waiting, I take the time to check in. And I go into this place of, do I have any reservations? I'm just about to get married. Do I have any doubts? Have I noticed any red flags, like anything like that? And I'm tuning in with my body, and I take that time to really allow myself that process. I consider myself very fortunate to have found a man that I genuinely loved or love at the time, and felt that I was just so blessed to have found a partner in life that I really was excited about marrying. Like I really considered myself I really took the time to appreciate how blessed I felt. And while I'm standing there, I get the song by Keith Urban. Every once in a while, I get songs that pop into my head, and it's either the guides giving me something for information for what I'm asking about, or just happens to be a random song that pops into my head. And this was the Keith Urban song, "You'll Think of Me." And it's, take your records, take your freedom, take your memories, I don't need them, take your space and all your reasons, you'll think of me. And I consider these lyrics, and I started thinking about all the loves and lovers of the past, and not in the heaviness of those lyrics, but instead as an homage to what they were in my life and a feeling of like closure, like literally going into a space of closing a door to the past and ready to open the door to my future. And so, and just in that moment, taking some gratitude and gratefulness for everything I learned from them and all the steps along the way and like I said, once again, going back to feeling how blessed I am. And so the knock on the door comes. I open that door, and at 34, I'm married. Fast forward 15 years later, and I'm in New Mexico. I'm in a yurt with 16 other people, and I'm about to experience ayahuasca for the first time. And I don't go into the ceremony lightly. Ayahuasca was really something that was really gave me some anxiety because I knew it was going to really dig up some deep-rooted stuff. And I had a true reverence for the ceremony, had true reverence for the medicina. And even though the shaman assured me that I will not, unless I set the intention, that I will not poop myself or throw up, I'm not completely convinced. So I take a bucket with me back to my spot in the yurt, and I sit down in ceremony, and I go through the ceremony. It's, hours into the evening, hours into the night, in the wee hours of the night. And that bucket comes in handy because, as I say, I cried and boogered my way through ceremony. My eyeballs are puffed shut. Nose is running, and my bucket comes in handy because it's just filled with tissue paper as I'm quietly blowing my nose throughout the ceremony. And as I'm coming off the medicina, ask one last question, and that is, how did I not know? How did I not know? I'm somebody who trusts my instincts and my intuition. I'm pretty sound on that in life. How did I not know that he had been cheating on me pretty much from day one? How did I not know? And the medicina says, go outside. So I take my bucket and I shuffle out in my sleeping bag, and I sit down outside, and the medicina says, look up. And I look up, and it's this beautiful midnight blue sky, and it's filled with thousands and thousands of stars. And the medicina says, you had to be here to find out. And instantly I know that this is truth, that this is my truth, that I had been living in California for 20 years, 15 of it, almost 15 of it, married. And if I had done my healing, or had to have done my healing in California, I would not be the same person. I knew I had to be in Colorado. I had just moved to Colorado. I had only been in Colorado a couple of months when I found out everything. And I knew I was meant to find out the moment I got here to Colorado, because I needed to be in the mountains. I needed to be in the trees. I needed to be with the beautiful skylines we have here. I knew I needed to be near the water and the bugs and the birds. That's what was going to help me not loop in my pattern of anger and resentment. And, I was in this frequency of, the of nature. And from there, I fast forward, 5 years to where I am now, and most days I'm the happiest I've ever been. And my husband and I, as you know, I don't call him my ex, but I call him my husband and I, because it feels softer for me. And he and I are doing really good in the sense that we communicate, we're co-parenting an amazing kid who's just turned 17, and he's one of my favorite people. We're doing a pretty damn good job co-parenting. And like I said, I love to say that I needed to be here. I recognize now why I needed to move and to be in my support system with all these amazing healers and like I said, the energy of the mountains and nature. And so now when I hear that Keith Urban song, and it's, take your records, take your freedom, my favorite saying is, take some of your memories because I don't need them. So, and yeah, I wanted to get first place wanted to get first place, and I got second place. So I was like, I'm still just going to be proud that I went and I did it and stuff like that. But I was like, I really, was hoping for first place. But
It's a
yeah,
brave move, honey. When you did that,
yeah,
you shared
thanks.
your story and your vulnerability. You've
Yeah.
come a long way since we've met.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you
You're
for sharing.
welcome.
For sharing your story and your
Yeah.
journey through the healing of your breakup. And it's a vulnerable, touchy spot, and I appreciate you talking about it.
Yeah.
It's
Thank
really
you.
powerful. It's really powerful.
Yeah.
And part of the
And I
journey
will say that, what, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
part of the journey and all of that is the healing of blame, which was
Mm,
a big piece for you.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you did not see it coming.
Mm-mm.
And that
And
that
that's what I mean by
hits you harder.
self-blame. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oosh, yeah.
Yeah. So
And
do you
and
think you said this, you were sitting in the stars and you were in New Mexico and you had to be here
mhm,
to find out.
mhm.
So I have a question around that. Does that message to you that when you were living in California, like it was just too loud, too
Mhm.
noisy, too much going on, where you were distracted by what was happening and you didn't see it because of the energy of being there?
It was exactly that. And then it was also the fact that I was with someone who go, go, go. All we did was go, go, go. Were either buying new stuff, we were either doing things, we were either going somewhere every weekend, we were either traveling or fixing something or repairing. Like it was just, it was interesting because I look back and I remember Mondays being so depleted and depressed on Monday mornings because I just had felt like I can't sit still. I can't stop doing and being and going and fixing. And at one point we had 5 cars and there were 2 of us driving 5 cars. That's a lot. Big house, more stuff, quads, so many toys and all this kind of stuff. Let's go here. Let's try, that kind of thing. And it's interesting, even my son to this day says, he still can't sit still. He's like, my son goes, I'm just exhausted sometimes by the end of the weekend. All I want to do is relax after working all week and stress of school and sports and all that kind of stuff. So it's still that feeling of like, I value the fact that my son recognizes that. So that's first and foremost, recognize that. So recognize in your own life now, moving forward when you start doing that yourself and stuff. And so that was one of the messages. The other message I got from the Medicina, which I thought was really profound, which I use and I hold on to. The Medicina said, he, my husband, is the flashlight. You and your son are the batteries. And I still use that as profound moving forward in my daily. If I'm a battery and I really, like I call it sparkly, and I really love being around personalities that also have their sparkle. And so they're their own batteries, right? Like I fill myself up. I have my own value. I'm working on, really doing this work in order for myself, not looking to grab and to buy and to do and to have. I mean, obviously, there's dreams and aspirations I have, so there is an aspect of that. But if I'm refueling or regenerating my own battery, certain people are the flashlight and they require batteries. So now, do I want to be somebody's battery or do I want to find another battery? You know? So I thought that was so profound. And I didn't come up with
Interesting.
that. Like, I have no claim to that.
I love it
Yeah.
though. It
Yeah.
makes a lot of
Like,
sense,
I know, I know. My metaphor for life, is this person a battery or is this person a flashlight?
right? What do you
Yeah.
think you need?
Well, I mean, I don't even, I think the key for me is I don't want to find somebody, or I'm not looking for somebody who I need because I that's where I want to come into a relationship differently. It's like I value their presence in my life and I love meeting them and sitting at the same table with them, and the thought of both of us pulling our chairs up to that, metaphoric or proverbial table, and we both meet equally in the middle and we're both working on the relationship versus I need you to fill something that's an emptiness within me. Like, no, 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 here's the accountability again. Here's the mirror image. What am I, obviously the beauty of it's going to be learning how to be vulnerable again, learning how to trust again, which I already have that. Like, I don't believe I have that pattern anymore of picking cheaters. Like, I really have faith in that. So that first and foremost, but it doesn't mean there's not going to be that beautiful things of that stuff coming up. And then learning how to be in a relationship differently and having a really open, lovely, scary, vulnerable relationship like that, I'm excited about. Because with my husband, we didn't talk about things like if something triggered him and affected his shame threshold and he was shamed up to his eye, past his eyebrows, he would just walk away. If I wasn't happy, God forbid, if I wasn't happy, he just walked away. And you're just left going, well, what does that, how does that, how is, I'm sitting at the table, I pulled my chair up and I'm looking at an empty chair kind of thing. So finding somebody who just, you know, is another battery. I'm looking at a battery. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Bypassing that last story and moving on to something better, right?
right,
Equally
right.
charging
Mhm.
each other.
Right.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Tamara, for being on with me today. And
Thank
it's always
you.
so much fun to talk with you.
You
And
too.
we always have great talks. Love it. I
I
love it.
agree. I love
So
you, my dear.
I love you too. And stay
Okay.
tuned, folks, for the next one. Take care and have a blessed. Ready? All right, Tamara's back on. We're going to talk about moon cycles and going insane.
Oh my gosh, so true.
Okay, so
So,
we were talking
yes.
about how messaging and guidance is unclear these days. And for me personally, and I'm getting mixed up with my ego as far as what's coming through and not feeling very certain that the hits I'm getting are coming from the right places. So, and you talked about moon cycles and the energy currently of where we're at. So you
Well,
were
the
onto
first,
something really awesome. So go.
okay, let me remember what I was going to say. Um, the first thing is when it's a negative thought and it's like, you're messing up or you go into that fear mode and, oh, this is just, guess what? This is another lesson. Yay, here you go, here you go. That's ego. And the thing that I keep on, so I wanted to also tell you this. I just reread the book, Many Masters, by Brian L. Weiss. Shoot, should hop up and get that. Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian L. Weiss. And it's a great, great book. And it's basically, he's a clinical psychologist who regresses this woman named Catherine in hypnosis. And then he's realizing as he's regressing her, she starts remembering lifetimes. And then she goes it's a really great book. If anybody, wants to check it out, I really strongly suggest it. The most profound thing I've learned throughout my healing has been we all have our own guide, and that guide is always with us, always singing our praises, always sees the brilliance in us, always sees the perfection in us. And truly, I have two. I have one that I call Daniel. And then I have Ruby, and Ruby always stands behind me, and Ruby's always like, let's go have fun. And she's like this little bubble of energy, like, why aren't you having more fun? Let's go have fun. And that sort of thing. And she's always the one projecting me to be like, okay, I'm just going to set my work aside and I've worked. Now let's go and just kind of let go and have some fun. And so we always have this with us. all, standing next to our bed, people who I follow near-death experiences, and people talk about the first person meeting them sometimes is their loved one saying, come. The other times, many times it's their guide, and they can see their guide sitting right next to their bed. So that's first and foremost. The information we get that is from loving. That's the loving side. That's
Mm.
when it's coming from our angelic support. That's when
Mhm.
it's coming from our, divine energy, I am, all of that. So you were talking about feeling kind of like maybe keep on getting tested or, are
Yeah, like
challenged and that
so
sort of
many
thing.
lessons are coming through,
Yeah.
and I'm asking for I'm asking for just some better guidance around that, and just put me in one direction,
Yeah.
and help me find that space that I'm supposed to go in one direction, so I
Hmm.
can be really super clear and live through my heart
Hmm.
always. It's
Hmm.
just the getting the direction has been hard
Hmm.
because I've pulled myself in too many different directions all at the same time.
Hmm.
So,
And your guide would say
and
to you, it's not hard. You just get to sit and listen and let go.
yeah.
So for me, so this is where the moon cycles come into play. The moon cycles have been this eclipse energy, which rocked the bejesus out of a lot of people, this blood moon, this full moon, all this stuff. So first and foremost, like I said, you're right on track. Welcome to the sisterhood, um, and brotherhood. That what we are being challenged to do in this energy and the frequency planet, that's just the Schumann resonance is just off the charts. Every one of the people I know who are the astrology masters in my life, because it's just hieroglyphics to me, they keep on saying what we're being given the opportunity, and it's not meant to be a quote test. It's not meant to be punishment. It's not meant to be hard. It's not meant to be, um, you know, whatever stuff. It's all what we're being given is the opportunity to let go and trust. And that's, what did they say to me the other day? The first and foremost, the number one thing you are asked to do is breathe, even if it means breath work. So breathe. I have to remember to take deep breaths during the day. Breathe and let go. And for me, letting go means sitting in meditation, really quieting my mind and not being like, what is my answer? What do I do? What's the next thing I do? What's the next step? What's the next da da da? And that
Yeah.
sort of thing. Instead, it's a feeling of like, whew, gonna breathe and I'm just gonna be in peace and I'm just gonna trust that no matter what happens, I can do it. I have been through worse. My life, like I said, when your foundation just shifts and alters and all that kind of stuff, it's amazing how, in the grand scheme of things, you know, oh well. I am completely on my own in this life in the sense that I'm me and animals and that sort of thing. But so I lean heavily on my guides. I lean heavily on my divine guidance, which is I ask, like yesterday, I'm absolutely having a fear moment where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how this is going to work out. Show me what I need to do. I'll do it. I'll call. I'll, make that connection. I'll do whatever it is. And da 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 da. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. And instead, it's just go into the space of, I just need you to, I need to cut all cords. I need to unhook. I need to breathe. And then I please guidance, guides, ascended masters, I need you just to take this anxiety out of my heart. I need you to help me bring calm. I need you
Mhm.
to do that. Every time I ask, I receive.
Mhm.
Help me just breathe again. Help me just take this from me. And I'm telling you, Jill, the more you ask, because they love to be of assistance, the more you ask, the more you will receive. The more you receive, the more you will trust in that connection and that guidance. So that's
Mhm.
the simplest way I start. I
Yeah,
ask. It
it's
doesn't maybe
powerful.
happen right then and there, like, okay,
Yeah.
now I'm better. It's a matter of like 30 seconds later, 20 10 minutes, whatever it is. And all of a sudden I realize, holy cow, I haven't been obsessing about it. Hey, holy cow, I just looked up and I'm seeing the fall colors and I'm seeing the leaves. And like yesterday, I just sat in my room and I looked out my window and I'm just appreciating the beautiful blue contrast to the yellow. Although I have some red in the front of the oak tree in front of my house. I have that. And that to me that's your connection, not well, I shouldn't be sitting here. Why am I sitting? I have so much to do. That's ego. Like, why am I not doing more? I should be doing more. I should, would, could, shame, shame, shame.
So
That's
true.
ego. That
Yeah.
has nothing to
It's
do.
hard to not be in that space sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, it's like when I drop in and my guides show up, it takes me a while to get there. It's not a 30-second kind of thing for me.
Mhm.
Because the ego and the busy brain and stuff is very much active,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But I know the benefits of sitting in meditation and giving myself the time to really drop in. Like for you, does it feel like a sinking feeling? Like to me, when it's like when it kicks in and I'm really kind of getting to that next level of depth, I feel like a wave go through me and then my body kind of sinks. And then I get to the next level and another wave goes through me and then I sink again. And that's like
Hmm.
a sensation that my body goes through to kind of get to where I want to be, where I'm in the vortex of space where my guides come in and talk to me. And I've got two
That
as
could be
well
grounding. Yeah,
that,
and that could be
yeah,
there's
and
your
it's like a
grounding.
full body feeling of just anchoring. Like
Yeah.
it's a sensation where my body's just kind of unclenching, a feeling of just kind
Hmm.
of dropping in and then
Yeah.
dropping in again. And I know when I get to that point, I'm well on my way. I'm like, yes, give me another one of those, like, and dropping in
Yeah.
again and dropping in again and dropping in again. And just feeling where that takes me. And it does, like, when you give yourself the time to do that, it does really eliminate the anxiety and the stress. It does give you like a full body reset
Hmm.
sensation.
Hmm.
And then
And that's
you're
where
there.
and that's where the letting go is. And
Mhm.
then sometimes what I do, I get that as well. And I'm like, whoo, okay, there I'm anchored. I drop a cord
Yeah.
into the core of the earth and I bring all that energy up, and my energy release is still burping, which is sometimes frustrating and stuff like that. Sometimes I have so many burps to release. And then but the cord comes back up and it anchors me. So I feel like same thing, I settle in. And then all of a sudden, my body then just starts to expand. And I just feel like I'm sitting up more straight. I'm like, whew. And so I'm taking up more space and more of my energy system as well. And I'm not making myself small. you know. Um, the other thing in that is when I stay there and I just then ask my question, and I stay in that mindset of then just whoosh, just breathing, even focusing on breathing. Like I always love to say, the Navy SEALs do that breathing technique, which is breathing in 12 count, breathing out, and then holding it for like 4, and then
Yeah.
breathing out 6, or yeah, 12, yeah, 6. Forget what it is. I always think it's like 6, 4, 12. So it's 6 breathing in, holding it for 4, breathing, and you start doing breathing exercises. There's so many guided meditations on YouTube, and there's affirmations, and they're all even breathing, yeah, gurus. There's all sorts of lovely things to support in on YouTube as well. My favorite saying is, when you order something online, you put that order out, you say ding ding ding, and you order it. You don't keep on going back then to check, was my order received? Was my order received? When is it coming? When is it coming? When is it coming? So that's where we're guided to just sit and have faith and trust that you've been heard, that your guides and angels and ascended masters absolutely want what's in your heart space. They want you to have your best life and live your best life. And the truth is our own hell and version of hell is our in our own making. And it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. But for me, my own making is when I start stressing and being fearful and asking, that becomes a personal hell for me in a way. Like yesterday was a weird, tough day for me. Um, so I just, same thing. I didn't get the answers that I wanted, but the answer for me was the expansion. The answers for me was the calm. The answers for me was that I slept last night. So there's my answer. And then just same thing. I've already sent my order. I've ordered it. So now I just get to sit back and I get to do what I love, which is what I do with frequency and animals. And then I want to do more crafty and creative things as well. And then the other thing I personally love, I'm constantly getting the nudge to go, is to go to nature and to be in nature more. So whatever those little nudges are, when they feel like, oh, I feel it in my heart, that's your guidance. That's not ego, that's angelic guidance.
Yeah. It's beautiful to be able to trust in that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. There's some out there that might really want to explore this
Mhm.
and just need a little how-to, you know?
Mhm.
So this is great, the dropping in and um to meet your guides and get the guidance. And for those that haven't really tried it before, the focus on meditation is not to like clear the head and empty the brain, right? That's
Mhm. Mhm.
impossible because we're conscious
Mhm.
beings.
Yeah.
We're critical analytical thinkers, and there's no way to empty
Right.
completely. But
Mhm.
the tool is to learn how to navigate when
Mhm.
those thoughts pop up. When you're sitting and you're still and you're focusing on your breathing and you want to really drop in and you want to get to a deeper level, notice when that stuff pops up, the busy mind, the how-tos, the shoulda, woulda, couldas that you mentioned earlier. Acknowledge it, say, okay, it's there. I hear you. And then go back to your
And then I picture like my hand going,
breathing.
pulling it out.
That's
And they
great.
say even like you
Yeah.
listen to the biggest gurus of the world. I love to meditate with guided meditations. I love to go to like Buddhist gatherings and stuff. I love their meditations. And they will tell you they've literally dedicated their lives to this, and they will tell you as well. My mind's not always quiet. My
Yeah.
mind can be thinking about things, and I get a to-do list just like anybody else. The key is just to simply, with kindness and with grace, just to be like, okay, I see that. Thank you, and just kind of pull it out. Or go back to, oh, I'm starting to spin a little bit, go back to my breathing. And that's why when I suggest when people start, do the guided meditations. Do a 20-minute morning guided meditations that's all about thank you for this day, thank you for this heart expansion, whatever it may be, or people who even do guidance of tuning into the chakras and the crown chakra all the way down, and then rooting into the earth and that sort of thing, and then coming back up through the heart and putting, like, I put a bubble of protection around myself. If you do those simple things and you just start there, and then like I said, the other thing is to ask. You're in the car and you're having an anxiety attack, or you're just starting to spin, or you're fearful, or something just happened that's just really kind of brought up a lot of stuff for you. Ask, okay, this is a lot for me. Please just soften this.
Yeah.
Soften this.
Where did this trigger show up from?
Yeah.
What was the thought in my mind that created this physical sensation?
Yeah.
What was it? What was it?
Right. And
Was
even
it
if you
even
don't want to go
mine?
there, but even if you don't want to go there, because then that for me gets me in the story of like, oh, because that time that I dot, 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 but instead I have the feeling that comes up and you're like, oh, like I'm having I got flash. I mean, with this whole moon stuff, I got flashes of childhood stuff I didn't even remember, dad stuff, like all these things came up. And rather than going and I'm going to hold on to that, just being like, I need you to help me let this go. I'm ready to let this go.
Yeah.
I
So
really am ready to
there's two
let this go.
options, right? Depending on
Yeah.
how deep you want to dig into it, right? For
Hmm.
me, I'm curious as to the why. When I get that
Mm,
trigger, I'm like, okay, what was that thought or that
mm,
continuous thought that's creating this physical sensation of anxiety in my body and fear? Okay, I know what that is. Okay, now I can put that away. Like I want to
hmm.
know, I want to name it, and I
Yeah,
feel like if I
yeah.
name it, then it's easier to compartmentalize it and
Mm,
put it over here, right?
hmm.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
anxiety. It's based on whatever. Okay, there it is. Put it over there and then breathe into the shifting out of it. But
Hmm.
there
Yeah.
is, there's more than one way to do everything,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Depending
Yeah.
on your personality type and how curious you are about the sensations you're getting,
Right.
So
And
either
I
or.
think because I'm at a place where I spent so much of the last years in healing and so much time in therapy since my 20s that I always felt like I was analyzing and so my process really has been, oh, wow, that's a feeling. And oh, it's kind of got a little connection to that. Okay, I'm ready to let it go.
Yeah, it could be
I
as
don't want to loop
fast
back
as that,
in.
just
Yeah, yeah,
identifying it
exactly.
for like a
Yeah,
second,
right,
and just letting
right.
it go.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people struggle with like rumination, right? Catastrophizing,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's hard to drop into a space of healing when you're in that
Hmm.
when you're in that headspace of ruminating on the negative.
I
So,
will
do you
tell
have any
you,
advice around that?
yes, it is. For me, it was the fact that it was more comfortable to be in a space of lack. For me, the familiarity was everything's gonna fall apart now. Oh, this is just, like, and as strange it is as it is, because we're all like, but I want to be happy, but I want to feel joy and that sort of thing. But the truth is, when your learned body response is that the comfort is in the trauma. And if I hold on to that, if I'm still holding on to the lifeboat, even though it's sinking, at least, that makes me feel safe. I'm going to go down with the lifeboat eventually and that sort of thing, but it just makes me feel safe. The
Yeah.
scariest thing for me was letting go of the lifeboat and swimming away and just being like, I'm out here in open water now. And now, what if? Look at all these
Yeah.
possibilities. Look at all these land. Look at
There's
all,
like
there's an island there. There's an option there. Like that was the
yeah.
scariest thing for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. But when you say that in my body, I like was able to just take a deep breath
Mm, love
when you
it.
said that because you know me long
Yeah.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, letting go of that. Because I get stuck in that. I
Hmm.
do. I'm human, right? So
Hmm.
you get stuck in the rumination, in the hanging on to the familiar discomfort, and that familiar
Hmm.
discomfort becomes the comfort when it's really not affecting you in any positive way. It's just is so familiar and it becomes habitual, that
Yeah.
feeling,
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
that's the pattern that you get stuck in. Your nervous system gets stuck in that pattern. And then it's
Hmm.
very hard to retrain your nervous system to be in a space of parasympathetic, and
Yeah.
receiving and a
Yeah.
feeling of homeostasis and balance. And meditation really can help you get there,
Oh, absolutely.
but it has to be a
And also,
consistent
here's the other, just
practice,
to
right?
interject here. The other thing here that's done wonders for me is Kundalini. And Kundalini is all about these kind of things and putting your arms up and, this and that sort of thing. It's all about opening your heart center. And a friend of mine for years has said, why aren't you doing Kundalini? Why aren't you doing Kundalini? I'm like, I don't like those dumb exercises. And like, it just didn't
It's like something
resonate.
you want to do
For
by
so,
yourself,
I'm
right?
like, I don't like breathing like that. It dries out my sinuses like it bugged me. And now I do. I swear for years. And now I do every night, I do this, which I sent to you. I do the Subha Kriya. And I do that every night. And it's amazing how the next day I wake up and I am attracting more things. I am more heart-centered open. I mean, obviously there's some stuff that bubbles up while you're releasing all that, stagnancy around heart chakra stuff. And, it bubbles up in the processes. And I feel like yesterday was a huge shifting day for me, cycling day and that sort of thing. But same thing last night, my Subha Kriya again, which opening your heart center, and all of it. There's so much support that we have. YouTube is supportive. What is that app that I love? I forget. There's Calm. There's meditation on Calm that are supportive. I listen to at night. I listen to affirmations, looping affirmations as I sleep. That helps. It helps reprogram your brain while you're asleep and stuff like that. Getting
I
out in
love
nature,
sleep
putting your feet on the
hypnosis.
ground, clearing yourself
Mhm.
off. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
sleep
much
hypnosis is
like you can
powerful.
do.
It really has helped me with
Yes.
a lot of things. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tapping,
it's
tapping, people who do the tapping and that sort of thing, that does wonders for people. Have you ever done tapping?
yeah, not on a regular basis, but I have done tapping. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the key would
And it
be,
does
here's
help
my
shift the
challenge.
energy. The tapping of the chest here is a powerful piece for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Right
Yeah.
here, because I
Yeah.
hold a lot in my heart chakra area. And there's a lot,
Mm,
like I already feel some space in there just for a little bit of tapping. And it's that also like these are all tools to help us tap into our
mhm,
guides and to tap into some letting go of some physical sensations on our body so we can relax and focus enough into breathing to get the guidance
mhm,
that we need. And once we get into that space of deep relaxation, I want to talk about a little for just a moment, and then we can go um, connecting with guides. And if you've
mhm,
never done it before, and for me, the first time I was meditating and I said, can I see my guides? Can I be shown?
mhm,
And at
mhm,
first, they were like in the far distance and they were kind of blurry, but I could see like Annalise is one of my guides. Like I have her
mhm,
tattooed on my
mhm,
arm.
mhm. Love
And
it.
she's been my one that's been with me the longest. And then I have an Egyptian one called Nuktet. And then I have another
Mhm.
one. She's my bubbly one. Her name's Beatrice. But she's Beatrice is in the background because I have a lot of trouble having fun. So
Exactly.
she's super
Exactly.
quiet and I'm just like way too serious about, life. So I have
Mhm,
my nuke ted is more like my lower energy centers, my solar, my root, my
mhm,
sacral, my solar, and then Annalise is more my uppers, like my heart and my spiritual connection. And
mhm,
their energies are very different. And the first time I saw Annalise, I was just breathing and just still and I asked to see her and she was in the distance and blurry and I asked her to come closer.
mhm,
I'm like, "Can I see your face? Can you show me
mhm,
your clothing? Can I see you closer up?" And she came closer and closer and closer and I could see her the detail of all of her. And she's a light being,
mhm,
and then Nuktet came in easier because I had already done it. And Nuktet came in like very, like Annalise is more light and airy and wispy. And then Nuktet is
mhm,
very like sharp
mhm,
and a lot
mhm,
of contrast in her coloring and what she wears. And her appearance is just more like boom in your face, less wispy. She's my more
mhm.
root, my lower energies, my survival. She's more of my red and
Yeah.
my badass and like, you're going to do this. It's scary, but we're doing it anyways. And it took a while to get to have them come in, but it does sometimes with me take a little bit to get there,
Mhm.
and it's not an instantaneous thing all the time. So just for the people
So,
that are new at it to just
mhm,
have a lower expectation and just be super open and curious and excited rather than
mhm,
like disappointed if it's not clear the first couple tries, right? Just continue to practice
mhm,
and continue to ask and they will
mhm.
appear.
Yeah, that's the
Now,
key.
if you're very
Just
much in your head, like asking to see your guides, but also going over your grocery list at the same time,
yeah.
odds are less likely, right, that they will
So
show up.
my challenge is, this is what I always love to challenge myself, is a 40-day challenge. So 40 days, I'm committed to Subah Kriya, and I'm committed to meditating. I meditate even sometimes twice a day. Whenever I start feeling overwhelmed, I'll go sit outside. I put a towel down, or I'll go to the trees, whatever, and stuff like that. You'll see me hiking up the mountain, and I got my little roll pack, a blanket, where I can sit on cushions and sit in the mountains. Like those are the days when I'm like, I really have time, and but same thing. I go with an open heart. I go with the intention of just letting go. I'm going to look up. I'm going to observe the beauty around me. I'm going to notice the birds and the bird song and the flow of the air and all that stuff. When I go with that versus going up with like, and I do set the intention of I need an answer and that sort of thing. And sometimes it even takes me an hour up there sitting and really, quieting
Right.
my mind and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So first and foremost, I say a 40-day challenge. And when you do a 40-day challenge, it's a muscle. And once you start meditating and you remember to breathe, it becomes a muscle. You start doing that. You start meditating and then you crave your meditation. You
Oh
really
yeah.
start craving
Oh
it
yeah.
because I love it. I love
Oh
it.
yeah. It's
Yes.
a
Yeah.
whole release.
Yeah. Yeah. And
It's a
then
it's a
ask.
beautiful, powerful thing that,
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody should be at least giving a shot and being open to.
Yes.
It
Right.
really does help take all of it
Yeah.
away temporarily.
Right. Right. And but that's a belief system versus I can look back on where I was in my anxiety and fear, and I can now see to the truly the depths of how I can let go. Like I kept on saying, just help me let go. Help me breathe, help me let go. Can you take some of this weight from me? And sure enough, it happens every time. They want to help. They're around us to help. Ask. I say it over and over again. Ask and ye shall receive, right?
Right.
Ask, do a 40-day, dedicated practice. Eating healthy. That's why I don't drink because I don't like the way I feel the next day and I feel more depressed and anxious and all that kind of stuff. I don't drink anymore. So it's a value system in my own body and my health and my well-being of my body. That's why I am a believer in when my mind is scattered or whatever, I put something on, like I said, YouTube or Calm or whatever it is. I'm a believer in taking the dogs for a walk. I'm a believer in walking barefoot outside. I'm a believer in going to guided meditations and group meditations. Meditation is so powerful in groups, so I do that. The list goes on and on in what I'm constantly. But the number one thing I do is I try to put my shoulders back and I try to give myself grace. Where we get stuck in our cycles the most is when we start getting into our shame. Oh my gosh, I'm doing this again, and oh my gosh, I'm gonna make myself sick, whatever it may be. That to me is ooh, and that's kind of where I was yesterday, where I'm just like, okay, girl, whatever this is that's coming up, I think it's planetary because my animals are even being weird. And you were talking about guides, and guides for me are also animals. I have a jaguar that comes through. I have a giant elephant that comes through that I hug this elephant's head. The elephant always comes through. I have, ancient beings of different planets, all those things. I have a lot of blue beings that come around me. I turn blue, it's just all wild. Um, and the best thing for me being to just set my intention, to put my order out, and then just ask and then receive and ask and receive. So that, and like I said, that's that for me is what strengthened the most faith was to see, oh my gosh, that really was, I do feel better. I
Yeah.
really am receiving. Like I am really having that connection and that
Yeah.
strengthened my belief in
Trusting
that
it.
connection.
Trusting it.
Yes.
Yes.
Or even if you don't trust it, even if you don't trust it, you're just saying it, I need help. I need you to take this out of my heart. I'm feeling really this way, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden it kind of clears my mind. And then later on down the road, down my day, I'm like, oh my gosh, I stopped thinking about that. Thank you. So creating trust. Yeah.
Gratitude. Gratitude
Yeah.
for
And
those
gratitude.
shifts
Yeah. And
too.
gratitude. Right.
Gratitude for the shifts too. And sometimes you have to repeat the asks too, right? Because we are human. We do have very strong, powerful egos. And
Mm-hmm.
I have had to ask for the same release moments, over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get in your
Mm-hmm.
head, you're going to go right back to the same story and then you're going to have to
Mm-hmm.
start over, which is
Well,
hard. I mean, it's challenging because we're
yeah.
human, right? And we make mistakes and we get in
Mhm.
our heads about a lot of things and
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
in everybody does it. Everybody does it. Everybody's in their head
Yeah.
about everything all the time,
Or I
and it's
asked, why didn't I
hard
receive?
place
I
to
asked,
remove
why didn't I
yourself
get
from.
that? Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
also the trust then comes if I didn't receive, then where am this is what I've my shift through the planetary alignments and moon cycles has been if I didn't receive that, you know, I'm open. Okay, maybe I'm not meant to stay there. Maybe I'm not supposed to continue doing this. Maybe what I'm doing isn't in my ultimate alignment, and maybe it's too hard on my body. There's a greater something coming in, and that's what I mean by I keep on going back to that. Okay, then if it didn't work out and this didn't come through, or whatever it may be, really once again going, okay, I asked and I'm just gonna let it go. And then the other thing is, like, I'm like in a place where if I have to move from this house, like if I'm not meant to stay here in Colorado, okay, then show me where I'm meant to go. I'm open. Like I'm really am exercising that. Like I'm really practicing being in flow. Like my thing is I I'm open to I want to be happy and joyful in my life. I want my animals around me to be happy. I have, dreams of having a farm one day. But then I got fixed on the next step is going to be my farm versus, okay, if my farm's not the next step, then just I'm open. Where am I guided to go? And it's just letting go, breathing through it, trusting, letting go, letting
Surrendering,
go, letting go.
letting go,
Trust, trust,
surrendering,
trust.
and staying
Yeah, surrender.
curious and open. Because not
Yeah,
everything's going to show up for you right when you asked for it,
right, right.
right?
Yeah,
Sometimes it takes years,
it does.
you know?
And sometimes
And
there's so many lessons and there's layers you gotta
oh my
let go of.
gosh.
Right.
Yeah, the lessons, I could be over that for sure, but
Mm,
we're
I
here to
know.
learn the lessons, right? To evolve to our
We
next
are.
lifetime. I'm just
Mhm.
like, man, the person that was me before me must have like needed a lot of help because I feel like I'm just constantly learning the lessons now and I'm kind of
And
like
your
I
and
would
your
like
and your
and until
empowerment
then
in
I'm like
that.
kind of like honestly I'm like tired of the lessons. I'm like can you just give me the quick answer and just like tell me what to do and
Yeah.
have me and
Yeah.
have it
Oh, I
be
get
the
it.
perfect thing, for the duration of my life, but it's not because we're always evolving and we're always changing and our needs and our wants change as we grow and get older and
And
that's
my lesson in that
always
is
shifting.
but then going back to Wonder Woman undies and pulling those undies up and being in a place of I chose before I incarnated. I chose these challenges. I chose who was going to be my husband. Chose who was going to be my parent, who were going to be my parents. I chose my best friends. I chose siblings. I chose. Before I came into this planet, I chose what I wanted to go through. And I can either loop in the hardship of it, or I can loop in the fact that I chose this and this is my empowerment. So if I chose this, I'm just going to really work on just letting it go because I don't do this anymore. I don't want to do this the next lifetime around, and that's where it's like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's constantly the empowerment I keep on taking away. Yesterday, I was not there. Yesterday, I was like, "Ugh, I just don't get it. But today, I'm like, okay, Wonder Woman Mondays are back on. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
your time. Like we just
Thank you.
spontaneously did one
Mhm.
more podcast, but I love that we do that together and we have so much to talk about. It's awesome. So those of you
Yeah.
listening, give it a try, and practice the steps, that we talked about and see if you can make some magic happen, right? It's a learning
Mhm.
process. It's a practice, just like everything else. It takes time to get good at it. And consistency is really the key to evolve just a little by little, right? And
Right.
before
Just,
you know
yeah.
it, you'll get into that drop in moment. You'll drop into the vortex, and it's just bliss when you're there.
Mm.
And you
Yeah.
don't ever want to
Right.
come back to reality. You want to stay right there.
That's the key. You got to
So
then do the actions. You still live in 3D. Right.
the
Yeah.
beautiful thing
And you
is,
know what?
though, is that once you learn it, you can go there as often as you need to.
True.
It's like a
True. And have
drug-free
fun.
solution to a lot of your
Right.
problems.
Right. And in honor of your guides and the ones pushing you forward to have fun even in this. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get up in the morning and have that meditation. I really love that woman's voice in that meditation. And I get to have the sunshine. And I'm going to get up a little earlier in the morning and do it. And really, I find joy in it. I find joy in looking forward to it. And it doesn't feel like a hardship, doesn't feel like work. It feels joyful and expanding. And the Subak Kriya cracks me up, the movements, and I understand there's absolutely there's truly a philosophy behind it. There truly, and it does work, and I really am a believer in it. It still sometimes cracks me up how you're just
You just got to do it by
doing
yourself.
these
Oh,
movements and
I
all
did
this.
a whole workshop sequence right at the end of my relationship with my husband, and
Mm.
I sat in bed and did a whole sequence of like a course I took on it. I still have it, so thank you for the reminder.
Oh yeah.
And I had some moments where I lost it, and I let some tears flow, and I felt some energy moving and some stuff
Hmm.
coming up and out.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, and then some pain dissipated,
Yeah. So true.
so it
So true.
does work. And it's all about
Yeah.
moving the chakras and moving the energy and getting unclenched, because emotionally we clench and physically we clench,
Hmm.
and
So true.
emotionally we clench first and then it shows up in the body because everything is
Hmm.
energy,
If you keep on
and
clenching, it's going to show up somehow, right?
right. And this Kundalini stuff is, it's a good opportunity for you to laugh at yourself, right?
Hmm.
Because it is kind of ridiculous, but it does move things. It does move energy and it
Right.
does help clear some stuff out. So I'm going to look back on my
Absolutely.
files and see if I can find that again. So thank you for that reminder.
Oh,
So,
wonderful.
all right, Tamara, I'll let you go and get on with your day. I've taken up a lot of
Thank you.
your time. So thank you so much for being present and talking to us on this podcast. And stay tuned, listeners, for the next episode. Many blessings and see you next time.